is an obscene amount of money. Now, I'm assuming that you pay your taxes, so I don't know whether you think that it's a
I
fair
certainly
trade
do.
that we should therefore spend £70 million on a big party for you. So I don't really get the it's a fair trade if he pays his taxes, let's
Oh,
splurge
Graham,
huge
come on.
amount of money.
I'm
You
not the
should.
head of
No,
state.
no. Well, heads of state are not owed £72 million parades. Heads of state, a head of state is a job. He has to do the job. He should be paid a salary for the job. He should also pay taxes as a matter of law and principle, without any doubt whatsoever. He should absolutely pay taxes that everyone else pays, and he should not be thanked for doing so. And he should not be justifying a big parade simply because he does so. But he doesn't pay those taxes. He could. He chooses not to. The monarchy, we've estimated in a report recently, costs us £510 million every year, and that includes a £24 million personal income that we allow him to take from the Duchy of Lancaster, which you mentioned before is charging MOD, hospitals, and so on. The duchy is a state asset which Parliament allows him to treat as a private estate. And so what he is essentially doing is taking state land that MOD and hospitals and schools are sitting on and charging the state for using their own land and taking that huge profit from, on which he is not required to pay any income tax. So, and you said that, it's a moment of national celebration. A poll that came out by YouGov just
Mhm.
about a month before the coronation showed only 9% were excited by the coronation. The numbers on the Mall were way down on previous jubilees. And of course, the coronation was met by global headlines about arrests of peaceful protesters as well. So it was a pretty poor advert
But
for
it was also,
the
Graham, I
UK.
don't know if that's a total, I think that's a slightly partial depiction of it. It was also a moment of sort of British pomp and pageantry that was watched and received media attention the world over. We can talk about whether it's a good advertisement for Britain, but it's a signal, it's a message that we send to the world that attracts attention the world
Yeah.
over. And people in that
Well,
context will say that it's right that we sort of quote unquote do it properly.
the signal it sends to the world is that we are a country that puts up with a very obviously corrupt and undemocratic institution that takes us for a ride to the tune of £500 million every year, and that we think this is something to celebrate. Now, what would grab the world's attention is if we got rid of it. Then people would sit up and go, "Wow, that is amazing! We've actually done this amazingly democratic thing, and actually decided to
I don't
choose
know.
our head of state,
I
someone
don't
who
know
is
if that's
going to
true.
be a credible and
I
independent
don't know
person."
if that's
But
true.
there's, you don't think it'll get headlines when we
It would get
stand up and
headlines,
get
but
rid of it, of
the
course.
idea, I think you're, a lot of, I'm not saying we should base our opinion on this around what people around the world think, but there's a lot of love and
No,
interest in the monarchy, particularly from the likes of the Americans. I
this is
don't think there'd
this
be
is massively overblown.
I don't think there'd be
This is
parties
massively
across the
overblown.
US if we abolished the monarchy in the way that you're making out.
The interest in the US is not what people think it is, and to be perfectly blunt, it's not the issue. The monarchy is part of our constitution. Our constitution is pretty appalling. It's very poor. As an institution, the only thing it does is it serves the interests of the people in government by giving them enormous amounts of centralized power through royal consent and royal assent and royal prerogatives and so on. And it serves the interests of the royal family who milk it for everything they can. And as an institution, if you define corruption as abuse of public office for personal gain, then it is very clear that when they are demanding huge amounts of money to spend on their own homes, their own travel, when they lecture people on the environment and they fly around everywhere by helicopter and by private jet, when they are demanding massive tax breaks, when they are refusing to pay inheritance tax,
I
this
agree
is
on
a
the tax,
corrupt
Graham.
institution.
But just on the coronation, I mean, is it not a sort of soft power tool here? It was beamed around the globe. Billions and millions of people tuned into it. It is a display
No,
of
it's not
sort of,
billions of
hold
people.
on, millions of people, I said. It is a display of Britain's wealth and splendour and pageantry and history and tradition. Is there not a sort of soft power benefit in that being seen across the world?
Well, I've yet to see any evidence that that benefit exists. No, soft power is a questionable concept in the first place. I mean, academics who've looked at this have said that soft power is usually backed up by a lot of hard power. Power comes from, economic benefits, from political and diplomatic strength. It doesn't come from having one rich family milking the taxpayer and having a big parade. No, it simply isn't credible to think that we should have to put up with this nonsense in order to have influence in the world. We are a middle-sized country which punches way above its weight economically, culturally, and diplomatically. We do not need Charles and his family having a huge personal income off the taxpayer, having a £72 million parade, which probably costs a lot more than £72 million, to be perfectly honest. And as we said in the response to this, you can pay for 27 million school meals for the cost of the coronation. 27 million school meals. We have children going to school
Mm,
unable to eat lunch.
yep.
Some of them are taking empty lunch boxes and pretending to eat because their parents cannot afford them food. And we are trying to justify £72 million being spent on a man who didn't pay a single penny of inheritance tax when he earned an estimated £600 million from his mother. Now, this is obscene. And the £500 million that we spend on the monarchy every year, you can pay for 18,000
Yep.
NHS nurses at a time when we are struggling to keep the NHS going. If you look at the Irish president, who is a highly capable, articulate, and hugely inspirational man, Michael D. Higgins, he costs the Irish taxpayer something in the region of £4 to £5 million a year. Now, we could easily put Charles on a salary and cut the budget down to £5 to £10 million, and then we could ask him to stand for election and have other candidates so we can choose who it is. Then the changing of our head of state might be something to celebrate. But the idea that we should all be told that we're spectators, we have no role in this other than to wave flags and to hand over cash, I think is absurd in a democratic society. And you would not tolerate, you would not have a conversation about the Prime Minister. Should we ask him to pay tax or not? You wouldn't have that conversation about the opposition leader or anybody else.